Oh, that's a great way to start out. Swallowing wrong and starting to choke. Well, hey everyone, it's Monday and time for another Monday Mastery live at 5. And we'll wait here for a few minutes while a few of you jump on and we'll get going. I just wanted to, as you can see, I'm up in Michigan and at my at my office in Michigan, and it's cold up here. 4 years ago, we had pretty much the same thing, but uh, it's it's been cold and rainy for the last couple of days, and I need to be here for a couple of weeks, but I'm ready to head home already. I think it was a high of about 36 degrees today, and this was my view this morning. And we had some snow, and so I'm getting a little tired of that. It would have been nice to have the snow during the ski season, but uh, that's where we're at. Hey, Addie, happy Monday to you too. Yeah, thank you. It's beautiful in KC. Yeah, thank you. And I know it's going to be nice down there. I know. I follow some people down in Oklahoma and Texas and Florida, and I'm always checking out the temperature. So right now, I'm just kind of envious uh, about about everybody else's weather except mine. And but it's spring up here in northern Michigan, and like I said, 4 years ago we had a heavy snowstorm as I drove up here. So it's schizophrenic. Mother Nature gets schizophrenic up here. So anyway, the conversation I wanted to start out with doesn't mean we'll end up on it. Uh, it is talking about um, uh, how do you know somebody likes you, or how do you know somebody wants to get to know you, or uh, what are the signs? What are some of the things? What are the telltale signs that you look for? There are some things that I look for and that I recommend that you look for. Um, but if you all have ideas that you want to share, or things that signs or tips, or um, how you let somebody know that you're interested in them, put that in the comment and we'll share those comments. But there part of my frustration with coaching and with working with individuals is there are so many games that are played in the dating and relationship arena, and I think we hurt ourselves when we try to play games. A couple of years ago, I was at a dinner party with several people, and one of the ladies there, she was single, and she said she had a date with a guy, and she liked him, and he seemed to like her, but she wanted to play the game of faking that she's not interested. She wants to play a game, wanted to play a game, and there's only so much of that you can do before somebody's going to give up. Let's see. Addie says, "I must not be the best judge because I think I read the men incorrectly." Excuse me, Addie. How do you think that you read men incorrectly? Um, hey, Sylvia. Thanks for joining in. I'd be curious, and I'm curious because I had somebody on Facebook today make a comment on my book post that she doesn't understand, like you, may not be reading men correctly, and the guy came over, and I'm just giving you a thumbnail sketch, and actually that's about all I have is a thumbnail sketch of the situation. But she said the guy walked over, gave her his number, and she wanted to know what she should have said. Well, hey Barbara, thanks for joining in. Glad to see you're here. So, and with having so few details, it was hard to say. But number one, if he gives you his number, it could mean a couple of things. It could mean that there's interest, but it also could mean that he's just looking for a hookup or a one night stand, or for sex. And that's so you have to be very discerning. I tend to be a little more conservative. I think it's the guy's responsibility to in general to call the lady. Let me catch up on a couple of comments here. Addie says they show extreme interest for the first couple of dates and then all of a sudden ghosted. Well, Addie, that's there could be a couple of things going on there, and I don't know that I would necessarily take it personally, but it could be that they are there for sex, and they may be going along with the 3-date or maybe the 5-date rule, depending on who you're dating. The 3-date rule is basically if you're not willing to sleep with them after the on the 3rd date, then they're gone. There's if you've had a couple of nice dates and they all of a sudden disappear, I mean, if they're ghosting you, then there's not much you can do. And I wouldn't take it personally from the standpoint that, okay, you dodged a bullet. This is somebody that's potentially emotionally immature and just out to date a lot of people, and they may be a serial dater, and there can be a lot of that going on. I would like to think that it's more from the millennials on down, but serial daters have been around for ages. I would hope that by the time you get to age 50, age 60, that you're pretty much past that. Hey Lindy, thanks for joining in. Glad to see you're here. Addie says they seem to ask questions and want to make plans for the next date, and then poof, never hear from them. The other thing that could be, Addie, is they're recognizing that it's not a good fit, and don't take it personally. It's kind of cowardly to do it that way, but it's not necessarily anything you've said or done. Maybe they're just not comfortable with who you are, and that's okay. That's on them. It's not on you. If it's a good fit, they're going to be interested, and they're going to be following up, and as you should. And that would be a question I have for you, Addie, is on these dates, are you expressing interest in going out again? Are they aware that you're interested in going out again? Or are you kind of leaving it up and just making the assumption that they're going to call back or that they like you? So where does it go from there? I'm just trying to catch up on comments here. It makes me feel they are dating others and just don't want to explain that up front. Well, and that could be true, and again, I think that's a little cowardly. And I think that whenever you're on the first few dates, you should naturally assume that they're dating other people. And but if he's afraid to or ashamed of sharing that with you, then that may be problematic in that he may have some honesty issues or at least some emotional maturity issues that he's not willing to be honest and upfront. Hey, Deborah, thanks for joining in. Mike, thanks for being here. Let's see. Mike says um, uh, ghosting is the tactic of a coward. Absolutely. You ladies deserve far better. Mike, that's absolutely correct. I totally agree. You're 100% spot on there. And and it is so much it is cowardice, just to uh, you have a couple of dates and then not have the courtesy to say, yeah, this just isn't working for me. And it really is that easy. You don't have to you don't have to go into some long explanation and and a lot of times I think uh, a lot of times I think that we worry so much about other people's feelings that we neglect our own feelings, wants, needs, and desires, and it kind of hurts us in the long run. Addie says, "Yep. When I first started dating again, I did take it personal. As time has gone on, I've just learned to be happy with myself, my own life, and know I have dodged a bullet. Absolutely. I've always been upfront and honest from the start. And that's the way you need to be. When you come into these situations where they ghost you or maybe they just don't show up again or they don't call. And there's a difference between ghosting. Ghosting is when they delete your number and block your number and delete you from social media and wherever else you're connected. But just walking away and disappearing is a different story. If they just don't show up, you can always give them a text or give them a call and say, "Hey, I haven't heard from you. What's going on? Is there still interest? Or are we done?" And an emotionally mature guy is going to say, "Yeah, I apologize. I'm dating somebody else, or I've started seeing someone else, and I should have let you know." The I'm trying to read a couple of. Hey, Mary, thanks for joining in. And Addie says, "I probably scare them off with my honesty." Well, there's some of that, and honesty it can be a double-edged sword. Uh, and when I say honesty, I'm talking about how much you're willing to share right from the beginning, how much detail you lay out on the table. Sometimes you need to reel it in a little bit, and you may not want to reveal so much so fast because it does scare people off. I've done the same thing. Addie, it sounds like we're very similar there. I'm an open book. You ask me a question, I'm going to give you an answer. And I'm going to give you a straight, honest answer. I'm not going to dance around. And when I'm done, I may ask, "Well, have I scared you off yet?" And we usually get a chuckle out of that and say, "No, let's keep going." Um, Addie says, I let them know what I'm looking for. And there's nothing wrong with that. And maybe in doing and sharing that information, Addie, um, they're recognizing that they're not what you're looking for. But at the same time, when you share what you're looking for, are you asking what they're looking for? And then it might be a mutual decision that's saying, no, this isn't a good relationship. We can remain friends, but it's not going to work into any long-term romantic relationship. And and this kind of circles back into the topic. Addie, when you're sharing what you're looking for, are you telling him that you're interested in seeing him again? Or Mike, are you sharing that you're interested in seeing the woman again? And I'm picking on Mike because he's the only guy that's shown up so far, at least that I can see. So, so Mike, you might be on the hot seat a couple of times tonight, if you're still there. Hoping you are. So, and it should be a reciprocal conversation where if you're sharing what you want in a relationship, then he should be or you should be asking what he wants in a relationship. And it's because we don't know. We can't read minds. We can only assume. Addie says, yes, if I'm really interested, I'll let him know. If not, I just play it by ear. Well, and yeah, and I can understand that because sometimes, relationships or, the first couple of dates can go kind of either way. And Addie says, I mean, if I'm really interested, not ready. Well, and that's a great point because if you're not ready, then he has to know that up front. And you may want to address that by saying, I really like you. I'd like to see you again. I'd like to do things casually, but I'm not ready to commit. I'm just not emotionally there. Or, whatever's holding you back from dating. And Addie says, I don't believe in leading a man on. And that is, you have no idea that is such an awesome perspective. Mike says, glad to help. I'm here for the duration. I've always expressed in no uncertain terms that I am interested in someone when I am. Sometimes I feel like that might not be received well. It's tough, and this conversation today is helpful to me. Well, good, Mike. I'm glad it is helpful. And sometimes, Mike, one of the things that I've found, both personally and professionally, is expressing your interest in someone. You almost have to do it with a little bit of finesse, and it's after the first date you may think, wow, this has really been a great date. You said, yeah, this is, but to her you want to convey, yeah, this has been a really good date. I'd really enjoy seeing you again. Sometimes we can throw so much at her. Oh my gosh, you're amazing. You're doing da 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 da. And you might just jokingly say, I'm in love, which could be a deal breaker right there for the ladies. And it's a deal breaker for guys too. I know that when somebody right out of the gate says, "Oh, I love you. This is," or "Oh, I love you. I want to marry you," and you've only had a date or two, then that gets really scary, and that's really a turnoff to most people, most rational people, because you just don't know somebody well enough to have those emotions. Now you can have a feeling that, yeah, this everything is going really smooth, everything feels so right. Yeah, let's take a look and let's have another date. Addie said, I'd rather have a man be upfront and honest with me, and I'd rather have my feelings hurt by being told it's not a good match than just ghosted or ignored. Absolutely. And Addie, the reality is you shouldn't feel bad, or your feelings shouldn't be hurt, because we can't be a great match for everyone. I've told this story, and I haven't told it in a while, but when I was first dating and online, I'm scrolling through profiles, and I had a couple of friends tell me, "Oh man, you'll be a great catch for someone." And I'm kind of building up my ego and thinking, "Yeah, I'm scrolling through these profiles and thinking, I'm a great catch for any one of these women. And then I paused and said, wait a minute. If these women aren't a great match for me or a great catch for me, what makes me think I'm a great catch for any of them? It takes the right person, and I wasn't being I wasn't being wasn't trying to be boastful, but what I recognized is I can't be a great match for everyone because just like Addie, you can't, Mike, you can't. We have to find that right person to be a great match or an extraordinary match with. Um, Addie says, Exactly. Not everyone is going to work out. I'd rather have my time saved." Absolutely, and that's what this is all about. Is recognizing, in if you're dating seriously and dating intentionally, don't waste time dabbling with this relationship or that relationship. Just tell them, be upfront, saying, "Yeah, this really isn't working for me," or "Yeah, I'd really like to see you again." Um, love will come into the picture if it's the right relationship. Now, when I say that, you have to be aware that this is that it can be a one-sided relationship. And this is probably more hurtful than anything. You see somebody or you meet somebody that meets all of your must-haves and has none of your deal breakers, yet there's something not quite there. And when you have a conversation and all of a sudden he says or she says, "Yeah, this just isn't working for me. This isn't you're not the guy um, that I see myself ending up with," is that can be a hit. That because you're feeling so connected, yet she isn't or he isn't. Mike says, "One problem with online dating is the amount of time invested in chatting before before ever meeting. It can build a false sense of chemistry and half the equation unsolved. The physical, absolutely, Mike. And that's a great point. I want to leave this up for just a minute, and that's one of the things that I strongly encourage. And I've seen a shift over the last 10 years. When I first was online dating, uh, you know, when I was chatting with ladies, they'd say, "Well, let's talk for a month or so and see where it goes." And to me, texting is, and I would go along with it, and that, because you can have some nice pseudo conversations. Um, but that gets old after a while. And the shift I've seen is that more and more women want to meet up front more quickly. If you've had a few days of good conversations, um, it may be time to meet, and meet in public. Don't and just meet for coffee or cocktails. Don't make a big production out of this. And ladies, I know some of you want to be wined and dined or entertained, and you want to see how creative he can be in finding in planning a date. Save that for a real date. The first time you meet should be very casual, like I said, coffee or cocktails, and it should be easy conversation, because this is a time that you get to see if there is any physical attraction, if there's any intellectual attraction. You can have text conversations till the cows come home, but until you're on the phone. And I usually start by going to a phone call and start chatting on the phone. You can start telling pretty quickly if uh, somebody's going to be interesting enough to move to meeting online. So I start with texting for a few days, maybe a week, and I say, "Yeah, I'm really not into texting. Can we move to a phone call?" And then if she agrees, great. If not, we keep texting. Um, And then if we have a few phone conversations and some good conversation, then it's time to meet. Uh, oh, I'm going to jump back here. Hey, Lynette, thanks for joining in. How do you intentionally date? Checklist? Did I miss this class? Well, when I say intentionally dating, you have to have a purpose. You have to know what you're looking for. You have to know what your deal breakers are. And Lynette, I haven't talked about it recently, but you should have a must-have list. The characteristics, the non-negotiable characteristics that you want in your next relationship. If it's a characteristic that would be nice to have, then that belongs on a different list. But if, for example, a would be nice to have to date somebody that makes $1 million a year. That would be fun. But it's not necessary. Most of us want somebody that has a job, somebody that's trustworthy, reliable, and have certain physical traits or characteristics, certain hobbies or activities that they like to do. Somebody likes to play tennis or goes out and jogs, or somebody that works out or exercises or rides a bicycle. You may have interests like sailing or kayaking or whatever it is. You have to know the things that you want in a relationship, and that's what I mean by dating intentionally. That way, Lynette, what you're doing is, if you're dating somebody, and it doesn't mean that they can't like something that you're unfamiliar with or that you don't even like, that would be something that they would do on their own. For example, I'm not a horse person, but a lot of women like horses. And if you like horses, great. That's your hobby. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to get involved. I'll learn about it because it's your passion, but it's not mine. But you have to, unless Lynette, that something that is a must-have for you, somebody that knows how to ride horses and is going to be there to help you clean out the stalls or to go on trail rides or whatever it is. If that's one of your must-haves, then you need to be looking for somebody like that. And that's what I mean by dating intentionally. Dating based on your must-have list and dating by your deal breaker list. Knowing what your deal breakers are, so that the minute you spot one, that you can say, nope, you're a great guy, but you're not the right one for me. Then you don't end up wasting a lot of time in the wrong relationship trying to nurture something that, it's like I posted the other day, trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, and it doesn't fit, and you get a bigger hammer to try to make it fit, and everybody gets hurt by that. I hope that kind of clears that up, Lynette. Addie says yes, no more than chatting online chatting online more than a week. Less if there seems to be a super strong connection. Absolutely. That's like I said. Move it to the phone and then to in person. Meeting quickly is my preference. Mike says meeting is my preference. I'm starting to decide to consider it a no match if we can't meet after hours of messaging. Well, and to some extent I agree, Mike. I think taking it to a phone call level first, because there are some aspects that we want to clarify. Just from personal experience, I know there are some voices that are very, very conducive to a great relationship. And other voices that I hear is no way in hell do I want to wake up next to that voice every day. So there are some aspects of the relationship that we can find out. The other thing you can find out is if you can hold a conversation together. If you have common interests there. Texting is such a flat form of communication you lose over 90% of the context of a conversation. You can't get someone's sense of humor in a text. At least I'm pretty dense at it. So, uh, Sue, hey Sue, thanks for joining in. Chatting online, I go through most of all my requirements, finding out. Uh, uh, let's see. Oh, finding out if they meet them. Okay, I get you. I was trying to skim through that too quick. Um, yeah, and there's a lot to that, but there are still some and I totally agree with that, Sue, and that's a great way of doing it. And I think you start checking that out, and then you move to, in my preference and my recommendation is moving to a phone call, because blocking off time for someone to go meet is it can be a waste of time if you haven't had a chance to talk and get to know each other a little bit better by phone. That's my preference, and that's my recommendation. But if you're comfortable just texting and then meeting, that's okay too. Uh, and first meet, yeah, coffee and drinks, absolutely. The first date, nice dinner at a good restaurant. I pay. Mike, that's a great point, and I think let's see, where are we here? Wait. Where did I go? There we go. Mike, that's a great point, ladies. The it's it's admirable that you offer to pay on the first date, but you should always expect the guy to pay. Um, my rule of thumb is that the guy pays until you know that you're in a relationship, a monogamous relationship. Mike, you may disagree with that, but my preference is that I pay. I'm the one generally asking you out. I'm the one that I am courting you, or I'm dating to see if this has the possibility of being a great relationship. Yes, it takes investment. Um, but you don't have to have dinner at a great restaurant every time. You can go out and you can go for a walk. You can go and have you um, go go to Barnes and Noble and meander through the book aisles and have coffee or a latte or whatever you all drink. Um, there are so many other things that you can do that don't cost an arm and a leg. Go bowling. That's always a fun Saturday afternoon activity or a Sunday afternoon activity. Um, let's see. Let me get caught up here. Mary says, I think it's better to exchange numbers and talk as soon as possible. Absolutely. Again, you can spend a ton of time texting, but you still don't. Uh, you still don't get a strong feel for who the person is until you can hear the voice and start hearing some of the vocal qualities in the conversation. And then you add on top of that meeting in person where you get to see body expression or body language, facial expression, um, and roll from there. Addie says, here's a funny story. I chatted with a fella I met online for a week. Found out his last name, did a background check, and found out he did prison time 7 year prior for armed robbery to 4 banks. Wow. he's he's an overachiever. Yeah, I told him I didn't think we'd make a good match. Look good on paper, but no thanks. I, yeah, there are going to be those guys out there. The question I would have is, did he repent? Did obviously he paid some of his debt to society. Does he have a job? And it's going to be hard for him to have any kind of serious job. So that's going to be a big detriment for him. Wow. That is a good story. And Addie, that's a good point. Before you meet, you should always ask for their name and birth date. You'd be surprised how much information you can find on somebody when you have just those two those two pieces of information, first name, last name, middle initial, and birth date, and you can do background checks and take a look and see if there's any adverse history there. Lynette says, "Oh, gotcha. If he smells good and has good hygiene, must-haves. Got it." There you go. And Lynette, that is a great must-have. You'd be surprised how many people are out there that don't have good hygiene, and I've written about this a couple of times over the years because and guys, Mike, I'm assuming this isn't you, but if there's other guys, and there will be later on listening and watching, don't show up dirty. Don't show up right after work. Especially if you're working out in the field. Don't show up with muddy boots. And show a little class and take a shower. Put on some deodorant. Brush your teeth. Toothbrushes aren't that expensive. Toothpaste, well, you can buy the travel size and for 97 cents and carry it with you. So you can always have fresh. Carry breath mints with you. There's nothing, in my opinion, and ladies, this goes for you also. There's nothing worse than sitting across the table or next to somebody that has breath that is atrocious. It's just such a huge turnoff. And I've met a couple people. I've had a couple of conversations with people, and not necessarily in a dating situation, but have had breath that I literally could not. I had to literally back away or turn away so that they weren't talking directly to me. So, that's, be considerate of who you're dating. If you've had spicy food before your date, or even from the night before, if you're a smoker or wine drinker, coffee drinker, recognize that that's going to leave a potentially or create a potentially offending odor. Mary says, I like to dance, and if they don't like to dance, I move on. Well, there you go, Mary, and that's that's another great must-have. Let's see, where did I go? I scrolled down too far. Here we go. Addie says, drinks or coffee may be best for a first date. A dinner may be too long of a date if it's not a great fit. Me, however, always makes the best of every situation. It wouldn't matter. I wouldn't make it awkward. Well, and everybody's different, but the reason I always recommend coffee or cocktails, because if it's not going well, you can, in 20 minutes, you're out. Or if it's going great, you can change cocktails to dinner or coffee to lunch, and spend more time, or change it to a walk in the park, or whatever it is you want to do, or walk. For those of you in Kansas City, if you meet on the plaza, you can walk around and or there's parks nearby, or any place you can get out and walk around and talk and be outside, and enjoy, especially this time of year, enjoy some fresh air. And Mike says, I'm old school. The guy should pay at least at the beginning. Absolutely. I agree with you, Mike. Hey, Teresa. Thanks for joining in. Glad to see you're here. I keep scrolling too far. I'm falling behind on comments here. And let's see. Mike says, guys, invest $75 in a small bottle of cologne. You have no idea how much of an advantage that can be. Absolutely, I agree. Although I'm not a cologne guy, there are some very fragrant deodorants that you can use, some very, very fragrant body washes. I have sensitive skin, so I tend to break out with colognes. I know you can spray it on your clothes, but yeah, I'm just not that guy. But I agree, Mike. Women just, at least the women I've dated, and ladies, you can say differently, but and that's all part of the hygiene. A guy with great hygiene becomes very attractive. Hey Sharon, thanks for joining in. Nah, you're just you're here on time. Whenever you get here, you're on time. Um, Addie asks, do you feel if a woman asks for that info, the man will think something is up? It could be a huge turnoff to some men. Addie, what I would do is I would explain that, hey, I'm doing a background check. Plain and simple. It's you're not, don't hide anything. Don't try to be sneaky about it. Just say, hey, what's your last name? What's your birth date? I'm going to do a background check. I'd be happy to give you my information if you want to do a background check also. Um, and there are women that have, that are out there scamming too. So Mike and the other guys, Lindsay, if you're out there tonight, do a background check on the people you're dating. Teresa says cologne is good. Um, yeah, no, and Addie says as for the name and date of birth, I mean, you should you know you can do it in a couple of different ways. You can do it very subtly. You can ask for the date of birth and tie it into um, the zodiac. I mean, if you're into astrology, it I've seen some stuff that's very accurate about personalities or at least about me, about my zodiac sign, and you can ask about those things. That's there's nothing wrong with that. But there's nothing wrong with asking for a last name. I want to know who I'm talking to. You know, it should be that simple. Um, and let's see. Mary says, I love guys that smell good. See, guys, for those of you that are listening, yeah, good hygiene, smell good for her. Sue says, I would prefer to be, he be clean only, no cologne. It's usually too much and overpowering. And see, that's a personal preference. And that's, uh, everything in moderation. But see, I get the same thing with perfume. Depending on the perfume, some of it that you ladies wear is just overpowering, and it's like, oh my God, how am I going to last the next 3 hours with that? Um, Mike says, Mary Holden, amateurs. There you go. So you got it from a pro, Mary. Let's see. And Addie says, I've tried to play it cool. If it happens, you come up in, if it happens to come up in conversation, great. If not, I take my chances and use best judgment. And that's okay too. But especially for the ladies, I always encourage you to err on the side of caution. And there's nothing wrong with telling them you're going to do a background check. It will, when you tell him that, if he's a scammer or a player, he's going to be gone quickly. And that's okay. To scare away the ones that don't need to be hanging around. And Sylvia says, honesty is best. Absolutely. Always be honest. Always tell the truth. Never, 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 never lie. Sylvia says barbecue smells okay. All right. Well, I like that. Thank you, Sylvia. I hope the rest of you got a chuckle out of that. I like that. Um, but always be honest. Always be upfront. Always, always share your intent. And when if you're finding that it's not a good fit or you're not feeling attracted, just be honest and say, yeah, okay, this isn't working for me. Um, so, and Mike says Sylvia must be from KC. I hope so, because we have some of the best barbecue in the country in Kansas City. Uh, but also, and you being honest from a negative standpoint when saying, yeah, this just isn't working. But also be honest when you're attracted to someone. Don't play games. Don't play. Well, I'm going to play coy. I'll let him call me. Once you've broken the ice, if you both like each other, don't play games about it. Don't say, well, he has to call me. He has to pursue me. No, stop playing those games. If you're both interested in each other, you can both call each other. You don't have to sit there and wait around for him to call. He's got to see that you've got interest in him. And one of the ways you do that is by reaching out or sending him a text and saying, "Hey, how you doing? Do you have plans for dinner tonight?" Or giving him a call and saying, "Hey, how was your day?" It's Mike, she blew us both out of the water. Texas. I need to try. Yeah, it's funny that you guys bring this up because there's a food truck out just a block away from me that has Southern barbecue, and I wanted to stop by today and ask them if it's wet or dry because Texas barbecue is more of a dry, and then you put your sauce on it, and they have at least the places that I've been have a vinegary coleslaw, whereas Kansas City is generally a wet barbecue and with a creamy coleslaw. And I'm being very general here, but that's what I've found. And Sylvia says Texas barbecue. I can cook outdoors too. All right. So with that, do we have any more questions or comments or you guys have been great today. You've warmed my heart because it's so cold up here that I'm feeling like I need to head back to at least Kansas City to get warm again. Uh, but anyway, just be cautious, and guys especially, be cautious about telling a woman that you love her. That takes a little bit of time for them to for ladies to warm up and to start feeling those or being willing to share those emotions. Um, let's see. She says no. Sylvia says no, no, no. Mexican rice, ranchero beans, and pico de gallo. Okay. You guys are great. Um, Sue, thank you. Sue says, "Fun people here tonight. Thank you. You're welcome. It's always a great group, and I truly appreciate everybody's input. You make this program every Monday night, and I'm so glad that you all are here. Uh, I guess we'll just wrap it up here on barbecue and Mexican food, and uh, we'll catch up again next Monday. And if you guys have any subjects that you want me to address, uh, shoot those off to me, or if you have any questions, shoot those to me during the week, and I'll try to not only personally answer them, but I'll try to bring them up during the program next Monday. Mike, thank you for joining in. Glad you were here for the entire hour. Hope you guys all have a great and blessed week. I love you all, and thanks for joining in. And I will see you next Monday. I should be still here, unless I get just way too cold and too homesick for some warm weather. I will be still here in Michigan, and we'll pick it up where we left off. Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening. I love you guys.